and we are going to write the third type of function, which has a return value. So let's say calculate age, and this function will take my age as a parameter, which is an integer, and let's say your age, which is an integer as well. So it's going to have a return value, and the way we write a return value is like minus and greater than icon. So this function is going to return an integer. We can have different types. I'm going to show it just now in a bit. So now, as you can see, we have created this function, and this Xcode is complaining right away because it says missing return in function expecting to return integer. So our function here expecting to return an integer, but right now it doesn't do anything. So when we promise the function that is going to return something, we need to keep our promise and return something, otherwise it's going to give us an error. So what we want to return here, because we are familiar with our variables now, we are going to use them here. So we have my age and your age. So let's return the combination of our age. So we say var combination of ages is equals, and we say my age plus your age. So since this my age is integer and your age is integer, our combination of ages is automatically an integer type. So now I can say return, and I'm going to say combination of ages. And now our error will go away, and our warning here doesn't go away, because the reason is it says that we have created a variable combination of ages was never mutated. So what it wants to say is that we have created a var and set some value to our variable, but we never updated the value. So Xcode is suggesting us to convert it into a constant, because if we are not going to update the value here, there is no point of having a variable. So if I click on fix, it will automatically convert it to a constant here, which is more efficient way if we are not going to change the value of our combination of ages. So let's have it as Xcode once. We're going to have it as constant. Now we have a return. So what I want to do is to call my function here. So if I say calculate ages, and it will ask me to pass the age. So I'm going to pass 18, and let's pass 20 here. So now this has value. So this function, previously when we were calling our functions, it was just doing something and that's it. But right now our calculate age function is doing something and returns a value. So if I say print, and if I call this function inside my print, and if I run, I'm going to print 38, because what it does is call this function, passes the parameters, and receives a value. So this part is now just the combination of my ages that we pass. Or we can assign this to a variable. For example, var new age is equals, and we say calculate ages, and pass, let's say 10 and 12. So I can say like print new age, and this is going to be 22, because my variable is equal to whatever this function returns. Same thing can be like for a string. So imagine if we have a func return full name, and this function will take like first name, which is a string parameter, and last name, which is a string as well. And we are going to return a string here because it is what we need here. So if I say, what I can do is just say return. I don't have to write the code separately. I can say return first name plus last name. And if now my function is perfectly normal because we are returning a string. This is what our function accepts. So if I say let full name is equals to, and I'm calling my function return full name and pass like Bob Smith, and if I print my full name now, and if I run, it's going to print Bob Smith, and you see that Bob and Smith are connected, so there are no spaces in between our text. So imagine if you want to print another person's name, you can use the function that you have. You just say let other name is equals, and again you say return full name David, and just pass K here. And if I say print other name, and if I run, it will print the David K here. So this function is reused many times, as many as we want. In order, if you want to add a space in between them, you can say like first name plus, and then we put a space, and we create an empty string here. This is a string, and I can put just a space here. So now we have a space there, and then I put another plus here. And if I run now, you will see that my first name and last name are separated with a space, because if you just put plus some kind of space and plus again, this is not going to work, because this is going to give you an error. You cannot say plus plus on a string, so you need to actually pass a space here. So this is other type of function with return value. Another thing to keep in mind is that, for example, function may accept different type of parameters. As you can see on the function here, we are accepting pool, string, integer, and the return type can be any parameter, any type of value as you want. So if you accept two strings here, doesn't mean the return should be string. It can be an integer. But the thing is, now we cannot say return and this plus this plus this, because these are all strings. What we can say is, for example, full let full name is equals, and then we say first name plus last name. We do some kind of logic here, but then we're going to return, for example, 19 here, and this is perfectly fine as long as the function returns the thing that it promised is going to return. So if it promised to return an integer, if it returns an integer, this is perfectly fine. Doesn't matter what the rest of the function does. So for example, imagine if your cook is making a coffee and it's going to make a coffee for you. As long as it returns a coffee, doesn't matter if it put the sugar here or it didn't put any sugar here. As long as the return is coffee, the function is valid, and Xcode compiler is perfectly normal with this.